Good morning, Venice Beach. We're here with the 2014 Motorcycle.com Naked Middleweight Shootout. Myself, Editor-in-Chief Kevin Duke. The other kids are here also. This all precipitated by the introduction of the new Yamaha FZ07, which is a very nice motorcycle. We flogged the bikes yesterday till hell wouldn't have it anymore up in the mountains. We're going to ride some more today. We've got a range of bikes from the least expensive $57.99 Honda CB500F and least powerful, but a great little bike, ranging to the almost most powerful but not quite KTM Duke 690, which is the most expensive $89.99, but it's worth it. We've had a great time. These are bikes that even a motorcycle journalist could afford, and so you can actually get, not that we'd be buying one, but we could. And but we always say this is one of our favorite groups of bikes, but this time it's true. These are fun little small bikes that make enough power to really be entertaining. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, the FZ7 is the one that spurred this on. Troy, when he wrote his report, he said it reminds him of the SV650, which is a bike that is one of our all-time favorite bikes. Next to me is the SFV650, which is the latest version of the venerable SV650. The FZ7, it won our value bike of 2014 in our MOBO Awards. And right behind you, John, was our previous year's winner, the CB500, which has also a lot of value packed into it. It's more than $1,000 cheaper than the FZ7. Even though it's got the smallest motor, it's still a really fun bike to ride. And we were in the canyons yesterday, and that thing was keeping up with these more powerful machines.
It was actually pretty surprising how good the more talented guys on that thing could keep up with the not quite so talented guys on the more powerful bikes, you know.
And to my left is Kawasaki's Ninja 650, which was one of the bikes that Yamaha identified as a key rival to the FZ7. It's also a 650cc twin-cylinder motorcycle, a little bit different than the V-twin in the Suzuki. And then there's Honda's NC700X, which is another bike that Yamaha identified as a potential rival for the FZ07. They both share a similar size parallel twin engine, but the FZ is undeniably sportier than the Honda. The Honda gains points back for being so usable, and especially with its fuel tank storage compartment. And like you say, the KTM 690 Duke back there, most expensive bike, but as far as grins go, that thing is a hoot.
For a single, it makes almost as much power as the twin, so it's got a really good power to weight ratio, huh? So it's a hoot, it's a blast.
It's incredible, and it's so unique being a single cylinder that it doesn't really fit into other normal categories, so we slammed it in this one for our high-end sporting angle. All right, enough talking. Let's get on these things to find out which is the best middleweight naked of this group.
Aye, aye, Captain Duke.
All right, we spent 2 days riding around these fun value-packed machines, and a lot of different personalities here. They're all together because of the FZ7. We put it up against a plethora of options of what else it could compete with, and it's standing out pretty good, guys, right? The FZ7, great motor, great chassis, good styling.
I think there's two awesome bikes here. This is one of them. It's not awesome by a huge margin but over the other twins, but I think it's better enough. It's like it weighs a lot less. It's a lot less weight, and it makes about as much power as the other ones do. Got a little bit broader power band. The torque comes in a little bit lower, and it runs super smooth. And it's got the 270 crank, so it makes that cool V-twin Ducati sound, SV650 sound. And we got an SV650 too. It's nice also.
It's sort of an SV650, SFV650, same general motor, and this is maybe our favorite motor of the group just because its sound and its feel and its character.
It's
it's my #1 engine of this entire group. I mean, it's 15 years old and it's still awesome, and it reminds me each time I ride it why I used to race an SV650, because it's such a good engine.
So for $9,000, the Duke doesn't really fit into anything else. It's a single cylinder, right? It's a category busting machine in itself. And so with about 64 horsepower, it's right in line with the higher horsepower numbers here. It's just a pricier machine, and I think if we all had to go sport biking for the afternoon, that would be the #1 pick, right?
As long as I didn't have an hour freeway ride to get there.
Well, even comfort-wise, though, I mean, you know, 5'11". I mean, I sit on this, very nice, a lot of leg room. You know, Sean and I were talking. There's a little lip here. It kind of like busts the wind flow up. You're not hanging on for dear life at freeway speeds. You know, and it is a single, but there's not significant vibration over some of the twins that we have here.
It has a nice big counterbalancer in it. It runs really smooth, which is the thing I like about this twin too. It runs really smooth. Some kind of counterbalancer in here is really nice.
I gotta fight you on that one. That's the most vibey engine of this whole group.
Compare it for a 690 single, it's not nearly as bad as what you'd expect.
And for a 690 single, it accelerates awful hard at 80 miles an hour on the freeway. Like you just roll on to pass someone, and it acts just like a 650 twin does.
It's the opposite of the bike you're on, Sean. That thing has no passing power. This thing just walks away.
Well, Bessie, you gotta be nice to her. She's not really meant for that. She's meant for taking the kids to school. This is a minivan in disguise.
I mean, you can fit your lunch in the quote-unquote gas compartment area thingy over there where your gas would have been. You get lots of gas mileage out of that NC. I mean, it's a practical commuter motorcycle.
What's not to love?
Well, characteristically,
It's practically not fast.
those are the furthest apart, right? The NC is very practical and humble and just work a day kind of, whereas the Duke is all about hooliganism and cracking the throttle and grinning inside your helmet, right? But interesting, the KTM at $9,000, it's the premium model here, but the Suzuki here, about $8,200. It's not that far away from the premium KTM over there.
And that bike has much better ergonomics. It's real compact and kind of long and low looking. And the FZ07 it's not like the Duke, but it's the closest to the Duke. It's a very controllable, motard, almost semi-motard riding style, and I find it roomy and comfortable.
Seems to fit everybody.
I really like on the FC how I feel like I'm right over the front wheel, like I'm almost sitting on the front wheel. And it feels really good. I felt like I had a lot of control, especially when we were going down roads I wasn't knowing what the next corner was going to be. I knew that it would respond to my inputs and do exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, that's because the FZ is a more modern, quicker steering, shorter, more compact, and you could get your SV, but you even if you added all kinds of titanium, you would never get it as light as this bike, which is the reason why this is a better sport bike is because it weighs like however many percent less than that. It's got really strong brakes. They're one-finger brakes.
Your mileage may vary because, you know, in the hard riding we did on the good roads yesterday, Tom and I were scrapping it up or whatever, and I said, the SFV I had the most fun on, and the FZ felt out of sorts all the time. Now, full disclosure, I'm 270 pounds. I know I look like a waif and I'm all skinny and all, but I'm much heavier than I look, and the FZ07 couldn't handle it. The CB500F did a better job of handling my size and weight going fast than the FZ07 did. Everything else shared the load on its suspension. The FZ07 took it all on the shock and ended up riding like this. So your confidence in the front end and the way you felt like you were over the front tire and turn in is the exact opposite of mine. The Duke felt like that to me. Everything else felt real neutral, and then the FZ07 felt like it was understeering and just vague on the front end. And that's not because it is. Your mileage will vary unless you're my size and you ride hard. But I wouldn't say the FZ07 as it sits is a terribly good sport bike if you're a big guy.
Well, talking about weight, you know, the NC is this heaviest bike here. The Cowie comes in second, the Suzuki third, but yet the Cowie is only 15 pounds heavier than the SFV. But it carries its weight so differently. Like you were saying, Sean, when we rode the SFV, it feels like a small mid-displacement bike should in terms of just smacking it back and forth like this, where the Cowie, at only 15 pounds more, same basic wheelbase, same basic rake and trail, it just is kind of like much heavier steering bike, and like this kind of, which does bring up the point that it actually does have full fairing. It's not quite a lightweight middle naked that we have here today. Yeah. But if you were going to, you know, do some sort of traveling on it, it is the best bike here because it has fairing protection. That windscreen is adjustable. You can pull it off and move it up like an inch or so.
That's good, but I don't like, it has the highest and most rearward set pegs, and even for my shortish legs, I felt scrunched up on that. Yes. The other important thing to bring up here before we close is this CB500, right? Everybody liked riding this bike. It's down on displacement, it's down on power, but it's only 4 horses short of the NC700, and it's way more fun to ride.
Twice as fun. Yeah. Right. It's 3% slower and 2 times more fun.
And I did like a bunch of freeway miles on it, and it was fine on the freeway. It's a real capable motorcycle, and it's the cheapest one here by a lot.
What I like about this bike is I started riding on a EX500, a 500 parallel twin, and I did everything. I did an 11,000 mile road trip cross country. I ended up racing it. I commuted on it. It was my only bike, only means of transportation for a number of years. And I really think that this, despite not having the Kawasaki name like the Ninja, this is closer to the spirit of that EX500 as far as if you're looking for a first bike that's going to do anything you could throw at it and do it reasonably well. I mean, it's not going to be as good as a sport bike in the canyon stuff, but you will have a lot of fun, and you could not grow out of it right away. You could do it for years. I really, really enjoyed this bike.
When we were tearing up in the canyons yesterday, I would much rather be on that bike than the Ninja or the NC700. That's a real fun machine.
I'll pick the Ninja over the 500. Yeah. It was fun. Granted, you're right. You're all right, but it's a little underpowered. Yeah. You just spend the entire time. Like I think what Sean said, you're on the gas even when you're on the brakes with this bike.
Well, chop off your legs, Tom. Maybe your power weight ratio will be similar to mine after that.
You know, everybody's been bagging on the NC about being nothing more than a commuter bike, very
best
practical.
all-around motorcycle here, but the easiest one to hate on.
So on the tightest, gnarliest pavement we did yesterday, I was on the NC, and I had a gas. I kept it a gear or 2 higher than I would have wanted to. Otherwise, I was bumping into the rev limit right after I passed the apex. But once I was able to wrap my head around that change in riding style, it was really, really fun. It worked well. It didn't steer real quickly. You had to muscle it a little. But
we also had to wait for you at the bottom of the hill like for an hour before you caught up to us.
I beg to differ.
Let me just say, in defense of the NC, which I really like and would be in my top 3. Troy has to be at school 100 miles away in 2 hours. He has to be in class. He said, "Which bike you want to take, Troy?" I said, "I'll take the NC 700."
Because he's got book storage down there.
Well, yeah.
All right, so we got different ways to create a fun, affordable, attractive machine, but overall, we're going to give it to the FZ7, right? Even before we get to the scorecard?
I don't know. There's some pretty serious disagreement. It's my favorite.
I know it's down to between the FZ, the Suzuki, I think, and the Ninja. For me, all 3 of them have actually really good engines. We've talked about the SV and the FZ. The Ninja, though, I really like this engine too.
I got to say, the SFV is towards the bottom of my list.
Really?
Yes. I don't like the EFI, and I don't like the weak brakes.
And then after you park it, you have to look at it too, and that's the hardest.
Actually, okay, I'm okay with the styling. I don't know why you guys bag on it so much.
Suzuki?
It's not bad. I'm not saying I like it. I would not date it or marry it. I might take it home from the bar one night, but it's not terrible.
All right, before Troy gets expelled from school, we better wrap this up. You got to go to motorcycle.com to see how this all shakes out. We got a scorecard. There's going to be ups and downs for all these bikes here. But if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. If you really want the full story, make sure you go to motorcycle.com.
Motorcycle.com is where it's all at.